Radio éphémère, en direct depuis la conférence européenne de la réduction des risques à Bâle.
Radio éphémère.
FMR Radio, hello. Here we are again. FMR Radio, nothing is ever definitive. Because most important question is still up in the air. And this question concerns arm reduction. Does that mean anything to anyone? Because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people who have just had a great meal, and that's maybe what makes them a little silent or discreet. They are digesting. Let's hope it doesn't last too long. FMR Radio decided to come back because we would like to have some information on the subject of arm reduction. Because when we look at what's been done by the authorities up until now, the result is deplorable. There are certainly astronomical sums that go into arms reduction, so we want to know where is the money and what does the government propose for arm reduction. And if possible, with all these people who are with me today, have some ideas to propose.
I want someone to give me 2 francs.
Okay, enough from the homeless guy over there. No one asked you.
Anyway, the solution isn't going to be that easy. It will be financial. I think that if things are the way they are, it's because the big people of the world want them this way. And so it's already off to a bad start. But I think that at another level, we can help things, and that's what we need to do. At least tell people about what we know. For example, we talk about harm and risk. What risks? The risk of getting a disease or the risk of treating it. Are we talking about the risk of the drugs we take? Do we know what we are taking? I don't think we even know what we are taking. When I take heroin, it's so disgusting that I have to put dormicums in it. I don't take cocaine anymore because there's too much ephedrine and it makes me puke. So I think we have our work cut out for us.
Did one time someone propose you something that seems to work in the domain of harm reduction? For example, in a medical sense, for example, so as to not catch all the disease that we can catch while injecting drugs.
At that time, that wasn't my problem. For me, the risk wasn't the disease, it was what I was going to have in my spoon, so I didn't really give a fuck. After, it's true that I chose the institution for what they could give me without really thinking about the consequences or the problems. We learn all this stuff with time and we burn ourselves. In general, we have already made the mistakes. I think the information should come earlier. We should know, for example, that when we get a methadone treatment, our bones and our cells will be eaten.
So that was my question in the first place. Did one time in your trajectory someone tell you about the risks?
No, aside from signing a paper that said that if I sold my methadone, I'd be flogged in the town square and that there would be legal penalties for my treatment. We mostly told me about the risk that I ran if I didn't follow my contract to the letter instead of the danger of the methadone treatment itself. No one even talked to me about other substitutions methods. No one talked to me about Subutex or other treatments that exist.
And natural methods?
Obviously not.
Well, thanks a lot. I'm going to give the microphone to another person. Hi, welcome. I hope that the meal was good. Yeah, it wasn't bad. A little bit of champagne would have been nice. We cannot have everything. So do you have a question for me? What do you think, or what do you leave around harm reduction in your trajectory? Or how do you know about it? The question is really pertinent. It's a bit difficult for me to understand it completely.
The risk is that I don't have a tourniquet. Can you pass me one, please?
Oh, shut up, homeless guy. Someone tell him to shut it. Did someone sometime inform you of the risk that you were running? Yes. When I unfortunately started this shit, flashbox existed already. There were already streetwalkers, so yes, I knew that we could catch hepatitis A, B, C, or even those I'm not naming from a shoot. Very good, thanks a lot.
If you want some disease, I have some.
Alright, so it's your turn.
My name is John K.
Okay, so let's pass to someone else. I have a drug actor next to me.
I will stay anonymous. For me, the risk is how to find the dose for tomorrow, the quality that I will have, and how to find the money to pay for it. And if the cops won't grab it. Yep, and if I have the time to take it before getting arrested or being ratted out by someone.
But concerning harm reduction, have you always gotten the information that you needed to limit as much as possible the harms?
In the beginning, not at all. It was the time when there wasn't any information. They didn't give needles in the pharmacy. No, for that things have gotten a lot better. I remember that when I was in 4th grade, I would steal needles because my mom worked in a pharmacy, and so I sold them because people didn't have needles. Times have changed. Well, we would steal needles from farmers, needles that they used for the cows. Yeah, they were needles that were maybe 5 centimeters.
But what would you shoot with that?
A horse! A decimal ketamine. Well, you wouldn't put it in all the way. He's great. So we'll go and visit these farms if we need to. And the cows are okay? The cows are great, and we even give them free antibiotics.
They have them for free? I knew there was a two-tier medical system. Okay, well, thanks for this really interesting account. So, hello. I'm really happy that you came to the invitation of FMR Radio. That's resuming its activity.
Je vous pose la même question par rapport à la réduction des risques.
And I'm asking you the same question about harm reduction. In your trajectory, what do you think?
So, at the time that I was using, I decided not to use needles.
Very wise.
Because in the area that I come from in Freiburg, there were very little facilities. This was around 93 until 97. There was prevention that was getting set up by the press, different articles, some street workers. But at the time there weren't any safe injection sites. And I don't even know if you could get flash boxes. from the pharmacy. But I wasn't really interested, so I never really asked. I mostly sniffed and smoked a bit. I cleaned my material, or I threw it in the garbage to avoid leaving it around, even at that time. As long as people were using discreetly, not being caught by the police, there was no problem. But you couldn't leave your shit lying around because then the cops had the attitude, we don't see anything, we don't get involved. But if we know, we won't let it go. Now I've lived in Lausanne for a few years. When there was the votation for the safe injection site, I voted yes. It's a facility that's important as far as I can see. Now they have taken away the needle distributors in the street. I find that very negative. Those two things, because even I, when I use the public toilets and I find used needles, it's not very funny. And I know what it is, but a little kid, for example.
And despite all of that, the safe injection site in Lausanne still can get accepted?
It's the citizens of Lausanne that said no. Exactly, there was a citywide votation in '97 and it was refused by the citizens of the city. It's the Green Party that said no, I think. In my opinion, a sure step in the right direction for harm reduction would be legalization. That would maybe stop the problems of crime and the problems associated with using. We could distribute straws at school too, and to have a sufficiently good quality in the streets so that not Roche or other pharmaceuticals that are making money of us.
Why in the street?
Yeah, you're right, why in the street? Yeah, legalization and stores. If the person is of age and responsible, I don't know why they don't have the right to use drugs.
So I want to say that on one hand we're talking about harm reduction, but on the other hand there is also the question as to why for some things we talk about drug addiction and for others we talked about addiction. Why is it that when we are an addict, it's stylish and we can say it easily in the company of people who have clout in decisions that are made with the money from our taxes? What's an addiction? Because if we start, we can talk about coffee, chocolate, sex, gambling. But there's still an injustice between being an addict and being a drug addict. Is there a difference? There is a difference of consideration that's totally unfair.
For sure, I could get drunk in the evening, go home and hit my wife, and I still be accepted by my neighbors. That's the mentality here. But that's the way it is here. We're not going to change it. There are vineyards everywhere.
Je trouve dommage qu'il n'y ait pas assez de considération
I think it's a shame that there's not enough consideration for drug addicts.
Polytoxicomanes. Bref, je m'explique.
Let me explain.
Pas assez de soins.
Not enough
Serait-ce
care.
le manque de personnel.
It is because of a lack of personnel.
Certains patients
Some
ne sont pas
patients
pris au sérieux.
aren't taken
Même que
seriously.
certains viennent
Some of them
pour
come
des
asking
demandes
to stop
telles
using
que pour
cocaine.
arrêter la cocaïne.
And what do we
Et on leur
prescribe them?
prescrit quoi? De la méthadone.
Methadone.
Soit arrêter de
And we want
fumer
to
du
stop
hash,
smoking
et on
hash,
se retrouve avec
and
des
we end up with
neuroleptiques. Y
neuroleptic.
a-t-il une logique
Is
à
there
tout
a
ça?
logic behind
Pas
all of
assez
this?
d'informations et
Not
surtout
enough
très peu de
information,
prévention.
and above all, not enough prevention.
So hi, we are two people from Quebec, from the Québécois Association for Health Promotion for Drug Users. I'm Jean Bruno.
Hi, I'm Mumu.
So we are here to talk about who we are. So we are a group by and for people who use drugs, and we are active in all of Quebec, in Montreal, Quebec, Gatineau, Ottawa, Rouen, and in the Laurentide in Saint-Jérôme. We have two main activities. We produce the magazine L'Injecteur, and we also have a political activist group of people who use drugs called ADDICT, the Association for the Defense and the Inclusion of People Who Use Drugs in Quebec. Our project started in 2005. In 2005, there was a community association called Cactus Montréal that does harm reduction and needle exchange, that is also a day center, and they decided to found a magazine. The particularity of this magazine is that it's entirely made by people who use drugs. At first, it was interested especially in people that inject and inhale. It's important to know that in Quebec, 90% of people who inject use coke. There's also a lot of people that smoke crack. So it was mostly for this population. The idea in the beginning was that when the conventional health authorities make prevention, message destined to users, they don't work. The information, the way it's popularized, they are too far away from street language, and the graphic designs that they use are also from public health and hospitals, and it made so that users weren't really interested by their messages. So that even though drug users have the highest incidences of HIV and hepatitis, they're also the population that is the less touched by these messages. So the idea of the magazine was to give us the mandate to do health promotion, to do harm reduction, to defend our rights. We'll do it in the place of the conventional health authorities because we come from this group. We know the language and we will use a design that will speak to users. So it starts like this in 2005. In 2009, people said it's nice to give information, but it's pretty difficult to give information to someone who has 1,000 other priorities in their life. For example, to not be arrested by cops, to be thrown out because we consider them a dirty junkie. And we said to ourselves that before we can convince people to listen to these messages, we have to defend our rights collectively. So we started l'Addict. It's the activist political project. Nothing about us without us. Drug users are not sick and not guilty, and we decide to go and see all the people that are involved with drug users and tell them that now you can pass us by. We are key people in this debate, and we take for a principle that all questions that touch drug use, well, drug users should be there. And here we are talking about the elaboration of services, the organizations of services, the evaluation of these services. It's no longer acceptable that we are perpetually medicalized, considered to be passive recipients, when we are people that have 1,000 different trajectories, and above all, we have an expertise and a knowledge that managers, doctors and politicians will never have. What happens when you use drugs? You know it when you do it. You cannot read everything in university books. So, we're still attached to Cactus Montréal, that's run by managers and health and social workers. It's still them that runs our project. So we decide to say, that's nice to do a buy and for project, but what we need is to run it ourselves from A to Z, not in the context that it's an association that runs our stuff. So we start discussing, and in 2010 or 2011, I can't even remember, we decide to be autonomous and to say that now we are the association completely and we don't want any guardianship. After 1 year, when we were tested to make sure we could run things right, they were probably scared that we would take the money and get wasted. They left us 1 year with supervision, and after we proved ourselves, they said it's cool, the subsidies are yours. You run your budget, you run your projects, you're a group totally independent. And we always have the true project, the magazine L'Injecteur and the activist group l'Addict. And we decided that since Cactus Montréal isn't there anymore, create l'Acsud, the association that runs these two projects. And we're a group that's really motivated, I say. We realized that as long as we gave people the room and the possibilities to participate, they were eager to do so. So we said, it's cool. We're doing information, defending and demanding our rights, and now we started to say that we always say that we are the experts, but now we need the system to recognize us as experts. experts. And so every time that there are meetings or panels that talk about drug use, everyone around the table is paid. The doctor, the representative from the city, the representative for public health, the health and social workers, but not the person from Absud, the junkie, who is just a volunteer. So we said, no way. If you want us to share our expertise, then we want cash as well. And so we decided to ask for subsidization, and that every time there was a meeting, a debate, a conference about drugs, we find a person who's a user, because that's our environment. And that person is paid, so that they can go and talk about the situation. Each time, no matter what the subject is, our objective is to find a person who knows the subject firsthand. If we are talking about injection, it's one of our members that is an injector that will be there and speak. If we are talking about the material needed for crack consumption, it's a crack user who will be there to speak. Each time that we arrive on a new committee, we prepare ourselves in advance, and each time we impress the hell out of them. They see us arrive, people who have often been underestimated in their lives, who talk about practices like they are specialists, and sometimes who will even correct the people around the table. People from our group have even taught professionals different types of drug use, like chemists that we've shown that you can dissolve this or that product. Things they had never imagined were possible. We realized that there is information and knowledge in the street, and we help it to be heard. Health professionals, when they realize that there's a new drug, new methods or new risks in the street, well, they realize 5 or 6 years later, and then they make recommendation meetings, committees. And so while later they arrive with interesting findings, but that corresponds to the situations of 6 years ago. What we tell them is that if you want to know what's happening in the moment, you call us, you ask us, because we are the eyes and the ears, and maybe we can help you with the information we'll go and find in the streets. Right now, we are 10 paid employees and around 500 members everywhere in Quebec. We are starting to open up to the rest of Canada. We've got contacts with other similar groups in the rest of Canada. We are realizing that more and more associations of drug addicts exist in the other parts of Canada, so we want to be closer with them. We want to open up more to the Aboriginal community, to people who use in parties, in prison, and also in the English-speaking communities. We want to have legitimacy that when we say that we are people from the drug users community, we represent this community in the most global capacity. And last but not least, we are doing a little trip in Europe, and we are meeting people like the folks from FMR Radio, and so we are also realizing that we would like to open up to Europe, to open up to the world. And I think that's really interesting and stimulating for us to see that it's cool that overseas they know our magazine and our harm reduction tools, but especially to see that there's a lot of resemblances despite cultural differences, drug use differences, legal differences, but fundamentally, as far as I think, things are really very similar.
Selon moi, en tout cas, les trucs sont hyper semblables.
Radio
FMR Radio is a community-based radio that was created in 2013 with the idea of elaborating parallel information to the one given by the canton of Vaud of the subject of the risk related to hepatitis C. So to go about this without pretension but convinced that our mission was important, we collected accounts and opinions from people who are directly concerned by this disease and to whom we too rarely ask their opinions. Thanks to the work that we did from May to September, we produced 4 half-hour radio shows, and then what? So finished, ephemeral, so many questions remain. For example, why methadone, when there exist natural products that are less destructive that could permit people to see the light at the end of the tunnel? While methadone is a way to put a collar around the neck of drug user and to poison them with a dangerous product that many don't have the courage to quit because the side effects are just horrible. And why not distribute pure opium opium that is much less harmful than most antidepressant drugs. Ephemeral radio could have been ephemeral, but no, we're still here, and with the people that we met today, it gives us just even more energy to keep going. See you soon.
Cocaïna,
morphine, ecstasy,
marijuana,
méthadone,
tranxilium,
tranxilium, alcohol, vodka,
tabaco,
cigarettes,
deporte,
doping, fashion,
sex,
pornography, fast food,
Internet,
video,
gasolina,
benzin, kreditkarte,
trabajo, dinero,
Benefits.
addiction.
Addict.
Yo soy adictiva.